I'm tapping in. Thank you for tapping into Yo Cuz podcast, man. Y'all know what it is. It's Cuz on the one and two. What's up, y'all? Thank y'all for tapping in. What's up? What's up? What's up? First thing I want to say, shout out to my team. Shout out to my fathers. Shout out to my YouTube family. I'm shouting everybody out, man. Shout out to my guests that come on the show, man, that dedicate their time to the Yo Cuz podcast. Man, I'm shouting y'all out, man. Thank y'all, man. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Shout out to the supporters, man. Thank y'all, man. Thank y'all for tapping in the Yo Cuz podcast. Make sure you subscribe, like, and drop a comment after this episode because we are definitely lit today. Y'all know what it is. It's all about Uncle Trump, baby. It's all about Uncle Trump. So look, this was going on, right? I couldn't even wait. PSA, right? Uncle Trump got something to say about the war that's going on in Iran. Yeah, Uncle Trump got something to say. Uncle Trump got something to say. And listen, I'm geeking because I want y'all to hear what Trump got to say. You feel me? But listen, man, thank y'all for tapping into Yo Cuz podcast. I ain't gonna waste no time. About to bring y'all on in. Let's go.
On the air with President Trump set to address the war on Iran from the White House. It's our understanding he'll do so at the start of a previously scheduled Medal of Honor ceremony in the East Room. That's what you're looking at there. It's coming not long after we heard from his defense secretary at the Pentagon, saying this will not be an endless war, although no specifics on a timeline for this conflict. President Trump already today suggesting in an interview that what he called the big wave of attacks hasn't even started yet, even after the attacks we saw over the weekend. And with 4 American service members killed already, the president has braced the nation for the possibility of more U.S. casualties to come. Let's get to Monica Alba, who is live for us at the White House. Monica, we'll listen in when the president begins to speak. But so far, since these strikes began, the president has not ruled out the possibility of American boots on the ground in Iran.
In fact, Hallie, it almost seems like he is preparing Americans for that possibility. And these will be the president's first public remarks since he did order Operation Epic Fury Friday night into Saturday morning. He has released those pre-recorded videos laying out some of the initial objectives of this massive ongoing military operation, but he hasn't given a lengthy or public address to the American people to explain what the end game might be here, how this does conclude, how long this could take. He's indicating it could be anywhere from 4 to 5 weeks, or that could extend. The president also hasn't discussed necessarily what the regime change plan could be here for Iran, acknowledging that dozens of leaders, he says, in
What's
Iran
up,
have
bruh?
been taken out, have been killed by joint U.S. and Israeli strikes. But when asked what the leadership future may look like for Iran, the president says it is unclear, and it is unclear, Hallie, what role the U.S. will play in that. You did mention earlier today that briefing from the defense secretary and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Dan Kane. They are both in the room here for this Medal of Honor ceremony, and they are both signaling to the U.S. and to the American people that this is an operation that is unapologetic, overwhelming, and could continue with force for many more days to come.
And Monica will listen in to the president speaking now. President Trump in the East Room.
And thank everybody for being here, and please feel free to sit. So before we begin this important ceremony, and there's no ceremony that can be much more important than this, let me provide a brief update on Operation Epic Fury. Today, the United States military continues to carry out large-scale combat operations in Iran to eliminate the grave threats posed to America by this terrible terrorist regime. Following our obliteration of Iran's nuclear program in Operation Midnight Hammer a short while ago, we warned Iran not to make any attempt to rebuild at a different location because they were unable to use the ones that we so powerfully blew up. But they ignored those warnings and refused to cease their pursuit of nuclear weapons. In addition, the regime's conventional ballistic missile program was growing rapidly and dramatically, and this posed a very clear, colossal threat to America and our forces stationed overseas. The regime already had missiles capable of hitting Europe and our bases, both local and overseas, and would soon have had missiles capable of reaching our beautiful America. The purpose of this fast-growing missile program was to shield their nuclear weapon development and make it extraordinarily difficult for anyone to stop them from making these highly forbidden by us nuclear weapons. We were the ones that were complaining. We were the ones that wanted it stopped, but everybody was behind us. They just didn't have the courage to say so. An Iranian regime armed with long-range missiles and nuclear weapons would be an intolerable threat to the Middle East, but also to the American people. Our country itself would be under threat, and it was very nearly under threat. I was very proud to have knocked out the Iran nuclear deal by President Barack Hussein Obama. That was a horrible, horrible, dangerous document. They would have had nuclear weapons 3 years ago, and they would have used them. But I'll not let that happen. For almost 47 years, this regime has been attacking the United States and killing Americans. Every time you see someone with missing arms and legs or a face that's been absolutely shattered violently, it was almost certainly caused by an Iran roadside bomb. They were put there by General Soleimani, who was the father of the roadside bomb. Very proudly, he thought, but I terminated him in my first term. This was our last best chance to strike what we're doing right now and eliminate the intolerable threats posed by this sick and sinister regime. And they are indeed sick and sinister. Our objectives are clear. First, we're destroying Iran's missile capabilities, and you see that happening on an hourly basis, and their capacity to produce brand new ones, and pretty good ones they make. Second, we're annihilating their Navy. We've knocked out already 10 ships. They're at the bottom of the sea. Third, we're ensuring that the world's #1 sponsor of terror can never obtain a nuclear weapon, never going to have a nuclear weapon. I said that from the beginning. They're never going to have a nuclear weapon. They were on the road to getting one legitimately through a deal that was signed foolishly by our country. And finally, we're ensuring that the Iranian regime cannot continue to arm, fund, and direct terrorist armies outside of their borders. And we thought we had a deal, but then they backed out. And they came back, and we thought we had a deal, and they backed out. I said, you can't deal with these people. You got to do it the right way. Today, we grieve for the 4 heroic American service members who have been killed in action and send our love and support to their families. In their memory, we continue this mission with ferocious, unyielding resolve to crush the threat this terrorist regime poses to the American people, and a threat indeed it is. We have the strongest and most powerful, by far, military in the world, and we will easily prevail. We're already substantially ahead of our time projections, but whatever the time is, it's okay. Whatever it takes, we will always, and we have right from the beginning, we projected 4 to 5 weeks, but we have capability to go far longer than that. We'll do it. Whatever somebody said today, they said, oh, well, if the president wants to do it really quickly. After that, he'll get bored. I don't get bored.
Man, I don't get bored.
Do you agree with that, Pete? I don't think there's anything, Mr. General. I think there's nothing boring about it. Somebody actually said from the media, I think he'll get bored after about a week or two. No, we don't get bored. I never get bored. If I got bored, I wouldn't be standing here right now. I guarantee you that, to go through what I had to go through. We also projected 4 weeks to terminate the military leadership, and as you know, that was done in about an hour, so we're ahead of schedule there by a lot. But please join me in thanking every American service member who bravely is standing in harm's way. They really are incredible, and I just want to thank you. We have a lot of them right here. Thank you very much. Thank you.
He's ready to be the camera. Who, bruh?
Thank you,
Hey,
everybody.
stop
We have a lot
war.
of great
Yes, they need
service
to.
members here with us too in this beautiful building.
Oh,
Isn't it
bullshit.
beautiful? We're adding on to the building a little bit. We're improving the building. See that nice drape? When that comes down right now, you see a very, very deep hole. But in about a year and a half from now, you're going to see a very, very beautiful building. And there's your entrance to it right there. In fact, it looks so nice, I think I'll save money on the doors because it can't get more beautiful than that. I picked those drapes in my first term. I always like gold.
What is
I think we
SB,
can save
bro?
a lot of money. I just saved curtains. But, and it'll be spectacular. It'll be the most beautiful ballroom. I believe it because I built many a ballroom. I believe it's going to be the most beautiful ballroom anywhere in the
We
world.
already in trouble.
Hammering out there. You know why the First Lady is not thrilled.
Hate
Exactly.
Trump.
She said, will the
Everybody
pile
do.
drivers ever stop? You know, they go from 6 in the morning till
Nope.
11:30 in the evening. Can you imagine?
Nope.
Here.
Ain't no war gonna get stopped.
You know what?
Love
To me,
Trump.
that's a
No
beautiful
way.
sound. She doesn't like it. I love it. You know what? To me, other than here, because we're
What do you
donating
like
it,
about Trump?
not a penny to the
Nothing.
taxpayer. It'll be
I like
under
the
budget,
bullshit
ahead of
he's talking
schedule. It'll
about.
be
Gas is up
400
almost
million or
$10 since
less.
the weekend.
President Trump with an
That's
aside
crazy.
there about the ballroom that he is building across from the East Room of the White House where President Trump is right now, laying out the rationale earlier for those U.S. strikes, which he says are not over, describing that large-scale operation that continues into today, calling it the last best chance to strike the Iranian regime. I want to bring in our chief foreign correspondent, Richard Engel, who is joining us now from Tel Aviv. And on the timeline, Richard, this is significant here. The president has alluded to something like 4 to 5 weeks for this operation, but he is clearly suggesting that it could last longer.
That, I think, is what struck me the most, is he's setting out these very, very vast objectives, military objectives, and putting a timeline on it, 4 to 5 weeks, acknowledging that it might slip. But he didn't talk very much about the day after. What kind of government is supposed to replace the one that is being dismantled and disarmed in Iran right now? That is very unlikely to take place over the next 4 to 5 weeks, unless there is some sort of deal, unless somebody within the Iranian system, like what happened in Venezuela, is selected by President Trump, makes a deal with President Trump, makes a deal with Israel. But at this stage, that does not seem to be happening. We're still seeing an ongoing war, a war that is expanding to new territory. Just today, Lebanon, which had not been involved in this conflict until now, fired rockets into Israel. Israel firing back.
Damn! You hear this shit?
Militia group.
Gas money will come down very soon.
Ago,
No why? But this is the bombs.
and was
They
trying to
bombing.
negotiate a peace deal between the U.S. and Iran, said that it shot down 2 Iranian fighter jets. So Iran is now also using fighter jets. The U.S. consulate in Pakistan, where there were protests yesterday and pro-Iranian demonstrators tried to storm the building, announced that it is now closed. So this is a conflict that continues to grow more complex, involve more territory, yet President Trump is saying that it will be wrapped up within 4 to 5 weeks.
He's also, Richard, taking this opportunity to make the case to the American people about this war on Iran here, laying out the objectives to
Man, he don't even care about the
the
war.
missile capabilities of Iran, take out their naval capabilities,
Yes.
stop their proxies,
It's time
prevent
to
them
pray.
from rebuilding any nuclear capabilities as well, Richard.
So there were 2 things, 2 types of justifications. One was effectively a theoretical threat. He was saying that if in the future Iran were to expand its ballistic missile program, it could threaten the United States. And if Iran were able to develop a nuclear program, accusing Iran of trying to reconstitute it. So he was talking about a theoretical future threat, and the rest was past grievances from the Iraq War.
We're going to listen back into the rest of the event now. Stay with us.
We all look good. We remember the ceremonies. Oh, great. It's a great honor. There's no greater. I tried for myself. I've tried numerous times to get one by myself. I keep getting shut down. They say, you can't do it, sir. Bad protocol. Very bad. I would say the worst. But I'm only kidding. You know, I have to say I'm only kidding. Otherwise, the press will come out with it, which they actually did once. Donald Trump wants a Congressional Medal of Honor, but he's been shut down. But now you are brave, amazing people, and I want to thank you all. In 1941, Roddy Edmonds of Knoxville, Tennessee, enlisted in the U.S. Army and soon rose to one of the youngest master sergeants in the military.
Yes, he
In
was.
1944, he sailed to Europe to fight in World War II, and he was so enthusiastic and young and full of vim and vigor. Roddy soon found himself on the front lines of the Battle of the Bulge. That was a big one. Massively outnumbered by enemy forces, his 1,200 soldier unit fought valiantly until they were completely overrun. The force was massive on the other side, many times number. After a 4-day death march, one that was covered very well by the history books through bitter cold, they were put into a German POW camp. Roddy was the top-ranking infantryman in the camp. He was number one, meaning he was responsible for the lives of his fellow service members. On July 26, 1945, a Nazi SS officer issued an order over the camp loudspeaker, loud and strong.
Don't care about.
He said that only American Jews were to show up to roll call following this morning.
Oh, about
He added,
Muslim sucker.
"All
Oh
who
my God,
disobey
that's
this
crazy,
order
bro.
will be shot immediately." There were more than 200 Jewish American soldiers in the camp, and Roddy knew their separation from the group would mean certain death. So that night he summoned his team and devised a plan. The next morning, all 1,200 American men fell in line together, shoulder to shoulder. Enraged, the Nazi commandant rushed forward, drew his Luger pistol, and pressed the barrel between Sergeant Edmonds' eyes. He barked at Roddy. "They cannot all be Jews," he screamed loud and again and again, and staring straight back into the raging face of evil.
He crazy,
Sergeant
yo.
Edmonds replied fearlessly,
What is he
are
talking
all
about,
Jews
bro?
here."
What is he talking
The
about?
Nazi officer lowered his weapon, and the soldiers erupted in cheers.
He's supposed to be talking
With
about the
total
war,
disregard
bro.
for his own life, Roddy had saved over 200 of his fellow service members. Their camp was
I don't even
liberated
know what
2
Uncle
months
Trump
later.
talking about, Mo.
We're honored to be joined today by Roddy's son, Chris. Please stand up as
I don't even know what he's talking about. Uncle Trump tripping.
Thank you, Chris. Today, your father gets the honor he so courageously earned. And really amazing, right? It's an amazing story. Congratulations to the family of Master Sergeant Roddy Edmonds. The next two we recognize today served in the 1st Battalion, 28th Infantry Regiment of the 1st Infantry Division, better known as Big Red 1. Do you know about that, Pete? Right? Command Sergeant Major Terry Richardson, we are honored to have you with us. On September 12, 1968, 102 brave men of Terry's Alpha Company were asked with securing Hill 222 deep behind the enemy's line in Vietnam. They didn't know it at the time, had no idea, but the area was totally infested with nearly 300 enemy bunkers and many, many enemy soldiers, far outnumbering them by at least 4, 5, even 6 to 1.
I threw some
As
memberships
Terry
out there,
led
y'all.
Lima platoon up
Sign up.
Hill
Snatch 'em.
222, the enemy launched an ambitious and violent attack, unleashing a withering fire of machine guns and rocket-propelled grenades. Just didn't stop, just kept coming. Pinned down in hell on earth, Terry summoned unimaginable courage. 3 times he exposed himself to enemy fire to rescue severely wounded comrades, and 3 times he dragged them back to the group. Terry soon realized that the 82 remaining men had one chance of survival. That was air support. Acting without regard of his own life, he grabbed the radio and charged up Hill 222 alone. He needed to be there. It was the only place you'd get reception.
Trump, like,
He withstood a storm of enemy bullets,
great
eventually
things.
reaching the top.
Yes, he
spent
do.
The next 8 hours
You hear him, bro?
calling
He must be talking about the
tactical
war.
strikes completely
He's patting
exposed.
people on the back.
An hour in, an enemy sniper shot rang out and the bullet tore through his right leg violently. He was in bad shape, but Terry disregarded that and pushed through. And after 7 more hours of calling in American fire from above, the enemy retreated. Later that day, his team found him with both eardrums totally ruptured and a mangled right leg and foot, but still barely living, but living nevertheless. Due to Terry's actions above and beyond the call of duty, 82 men, Alpha Company, survived this battle, including 2 in this room, Norm Meyer and Dave Himmer. Where are you? Can you want to stand up, Norm and Dave? Where's Norm and Dave? That's pretty cool. Pretty good.
Hi, my name is Tami, and I would like to give you a few reasons why you should consider dating a young.
And that story is 100% correct, isn't it? Huh? So you're pretty. It's how much have you paid him over the years? Have you said take everything we have? We wouldn't be here, right? That's great. That's a great story, Terry. Today you enter the ranks of the bravest warriors ever to stride the face of the earth. Please stand up, please.
Told you. Please stand up, please. The world is full of what deserve.
That's great, Terry. That's a great, brave man. I met him back there. He said, he's central casting. Look at him. He looks great. He looks great. You feel like fighting?
Whatever you talk about,
I think we
I
could
only
take
know
him
what you're talking
today.
about,
What do you
bro.
think, Pete? We'll make a little deal with him, as you are a brave man. Finally, we honor one more American soldier, a fallen warrior of world, of wars, and really, of really terror. Staff Sergeant Michael Ollis, born in 1988 on Staten Island. Michael grew up seeing the World Trade Center across the bay. I know Staten Island so well. The people in Staten Island are amazing.
The people in
9/11,
Staten
Michael
Island are
enlisted in the
amazing.
Army, and by 24 years old, he was locked in. He loved it. He wanted it so badly. He was a squad leader serving in Afghanistan with the 2nd Battalion, 22nd Infantry Regiment, 1st Brigade Combat Team of the legendary 10th Mountain Division. On August 28, 2013, terrorists detonated a 400-pound car bomb on the east wall of the forward operating base, Ghazni, ripping open a 60-foot wide breach into a compound that housed NATO coalition forces, a lot of them.
A lot of
Taliban
them.
fighters wearing suicide vests swarmed through. From across the compound, Michael saw the pillar of white smoke rising and ran to join the fight, rushing without his gear, wearing almost no gear, no Kevlar helmet, no body armor, just one magazine in his rifle. Along the way, he encountered a Polish soldier, and together they advanced under heavy fire, very, very heavy fire. At one point, shrapnel ripped through the Polish soldier's legs, rendering him unable to walk, very, very severely hurt. In that chaos of gunfire, explosions, and charred human remains, a terrorist insurgent appeared, rounding a corner with his suicide vest fully armed, and you could see it. It was going to happen. He charged the wounded Polish soldier without hesitation. Michael raised his gun and forced himself between the insurgent and the man he just met, shielding him with his own body. He knew it was going to happen. He shielded him with his own body. You know, bravery's amazing. You never really know who's brave, who's not, until they're really tested. We think some people are brave, Pete, and they're not. We think others aren't, and they are. You never know. But he was tested. That's called the ultimate test, right? And at perhaps his final heartbeat, Michael fired his weapon, and the terrorist detonated his vest simultaneously. Staff Sergeant Olis was killed just weeks before his 25th birthday, and nobody was any more brave than that. In his final act on earth, Michael absorbed the blast, sparing the life of that Polish warrior, who we are grateful to have in the room with us today, Second Lieutenant Carol Sierpika. Carol Sierpika. Where are you, Carol? Hey. Would you like to come up? Please. Please. I'd love to have you come up. Thank you, Carol.
Trump tired of talking. Like, somebody come up with this motherfucker.
Mr. President, Minister of War, I'm Minister Polish of National Defense, distinguished guests, everyone gathered here today, dear my Basia, Michael, and Jacob, especially dear Linda and Robert, and the entire Olis family. What do you have that you did not receive? This is how I would like to begin these few words, to speak to you all here. In this special place and on occasion of this incredibly important ceremony, one that is significant for many, but truly especially exceptional for me, is a particular privilege and a great honor. Above all, however, it is my commitment. It is a part of my new mission, which began 13 years ago. A soldier is not something you are from time to time. It is who you are forever. It is just like you are not a mother, a father, a sister, and brother, or as only for a moment. These are not roles given to us for a while. They are a great gift, but also a great lifelong commitment. Yes, today my commitment and my greatest gift is to cultivate the memory of true, heroic act of courage that I witnessed performed by your beloved son, Michael. Please forgive me if my words have not fully captured what I truly feel today. However, sometimes words are simply not enough. I'm deeply moved, happy, and grateful to God for my service, for my parents, for my family, for my beloved homeland, Poland, for my second family from Staten Island, and for my second homeland, America. God bless you all. Michael, thank you for your service, and I will see you in our heavenly homeland. Thank you for your service. Thank you so much.
And Carol is joined by his wife and their two wonderful sons, Jacob and Michael. Michael is named after the American hero who saved his father's life. So stand up, Michael. Let me see. That's great. We're also pleased to be joined by several members of the Polish government, including representatives of the president, who I think is a fantastic man, by the way. I must be honest with you. I endorsed him and he won, and he came from behind, he won, and he was the biggest story in Europe, and he's going to be a great president. He already is. But as well as Poland's Minister of Defense, to honor the blood and sacrifice that has helped seal the Polish-American bond. We have a great bond. We have a great relationship with your country. And I just want to thank you to Michael's parents, Bob and Linda. Your son's selflessness in the face of real evil reminds us of the courage that keeps our country free. And I just said the genetics in that family are very strong, right? I said that before.
Right, very
All
strong,
four families,
right?
I said, good. I see some of the young ones today, and I said, you have good genes. They were asking me, what does that mean? I said, don't worry about it. You'll figure it out. But you have the best genes you can have, actually. So thank you for giving America your beloved son. And now I would like to ask the military aide to come forward and read the citations, and then we will do the honors. Thank you all very much. This is a tremendous honor for me to be here. Thank you. Please, military aide.
Chris Edmonds, accepting on behalf of his father, Master Sergeant Roderick W. Edmonds. The President of the United States of America, authorized by Act of Congress, March 3, 1863, has posthumously awarded in the name of Congress the Medal of Honor to Master Sergeant Roderick W. Edmonds, United States Army. Master Sergeant Roderick W. Edmonds distinguished himself by acts of gallantry above and beyond the call of duty from January 27, 1945 to March 30, 1945 as a prisoner of war in Germany. Upon arrival at Stalag 9A in Zietenhain, Germany, on the evening of January 26, 1945, the Germans announced that only Jewish American prisoners would fall out for roll call the following morning at the threat of execution. Master Sergeant Edmonds directed his senior leaders to have all 1,200 American prisoners present themselves for roll call. The Nazi commandant became incredulous after realizing that so many Americans were standing in formation. The commandant removed his pistol, pressed it hard against Master Sergeant Edmonds' forehead between his eyes, and demanded that he order all Jewish American prisoners to step forward or he would be shot.
Damn.
Master Sergeant Edmonds fearlessly held his ground, refusing to concede. The commandant lowered his weapon without further attempts to segregate the Jewish American prisoners. Several weeks later, in March 1945, the Germans ordered all prisoners to assemble outside the barracks for evacuation. Master Sergeant Edmonds ordered all American prisoners to form in front of the barracks, and when the enemy transports arrived, they would break ranks and rush back to the barracks. Master Sergeant Edmonds gallantly led these prisoners in a relentless pursuit of opposition and resistance, forcing the Germans to abandon the camp, leaving the 1,200 American prisoners behind. Master Sergeant Edmonds' conspicuous gallantry above and beyond the call of duty are in keeping with the highest traditions of military service and reflect great credit upon himself, his unit, in the United States Army. Command Sergeant Major Terry P. Richardson. The President of the United States of America, authorized by Act of Congress, March 3, 1863, has awarded in the name of Congress the Medal of Honor to Staff Sergeant Terry P. Richardson, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Terry P. Richardson distinguished himself by acts of gallantry above and beyond the call of duty on September 14, 1968, in the vicinity of Loc Ninh, Republic of Vietnam. On this date, his company was tasked with the mission of securing Hill 222 in hostile and enemy territory near the Cambodian border. Staff Sergeant Richardson directed one of his squads to be the point element leading the way. Shortly after the assault began, 3 of the squad members became severely wounded and pinned down between 3 enemy machine gun bunkers. Staff Sergeant Richardson advanced forward under heavy enemy fire and recovered his wounded soldiers between heavy machine gun fire. By the time he was able to make it back to join his unit, his entire company had been completely surrounded by the enemy. Staff Sergeant Richardson recognized that the only way to keep his company from being overrun was with accurate tactical airstrikes. Staff Sergeant Richardson advanced to the top of Hill 222 under heavy enemy fire for better sight lines to direct the tactical airstrikes. He began to direct the tactical airstrikes and shortly thereafter became wounded by an enemy sniper. Staff Sergeant Richardson continued directing the tactical airstrikes for 7 more hours before the enemy broke contact. 6 soldiers from his platoon found him still alive. Staff Sergeant Richardson declined medical evaluation for his gunshot wound and requested that he be allowed to stay to lead his soldiers. Altogether, his actions directly resulted in 85 lives being spared on that fateful day. Staff Sergeant Richardson's conspicuous gallantry and extraordinary heroism at the risk of his life, above and beyond the call of duty, are in keeping with the highest traditions of military service and reflect great credit upon himself, his unit, and the United States Army. Robert and Linda Ollis accepting on behalf of their son, Staff Sergeant Michael H. Ollis. The President of the United States of America, authorized by Act of Congress March 3, 1863, has posthumously awarded in the name of Congress the Medal of Honor to Staff Sergeant Michael H. Ollis, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Michael H. Ollis distinguished himself by acts of gallantry above and beyond the call of duty on 28 August 2013 in Afghanistan. On this date, a complex enemy attack involving multiple vehicle-borne improvised explosive devices, suicide vests, indirect fire, and small arms fire was launched against Forward Operating Base Hanzi. Staff Sergeant Ollis ordered his fellow soldiers to move to bunkers to shield themselves from enemy fire. After accounting for his soldiers, he moved toward the enemy force that had penetrated the perimeter of the forward operating base. Staff Sergeant Ollis located a coalition forces officer, and together they moved toward the point of attack, armed with only their rifles. Upon reaching the attack point, they linked up with other friendly forces and began a coordinated effort to repulse the enemy. While under continuous fire, Staff Sergeant Ollis moved from position to position, engaging the enemy with accurate and effective fire. While fighting along the perimeter, an insurgent came around the corner. Staff Sergeant Ollis fired on the insurgent and incapacitated him, but as he approached the downed insurgent, the insurgent's suicide vest detonated and mortally wounded him. Staff Sergeant Ollis's exceptional courage and complete disregard for personal safety were in keeping with the highest traditions of military service and reflect great credit upon him, his unit, in the United States Army.
You have been watching that Medal of Honor ceremony at the East Room there featuring President Trump as he, at the beginning of those remarks, made comments about the war on Iran with those strikes now over the course of the last 48 hours. The president not sticking to or clarifying what a timeline would look like, suggesting 4 to 5 weeks, but open to longer, and not ruling out the possibility of American boots on the ground either. I want to bring in our senior national security correspondent, Courtney Kube, who was at this morning's Pentagon briefing. In court, those top defense officials are in the room here, as one might imagine, for this Medal of Honor ceremony, presumably rushing over after they had delivered that statement, and took a few questions from reporters today, laying out more about the military objectives and where this goes next.
Yeah, so the objectives that both the Secretary and then the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs laid out are pretty similar to what we've been hearing from the President. But the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Dan Kane, he put it in a much more military way of explaining exactly what they were going to do. So not talking about regime change, but talking specifically about how the goal was to go after the ballistic missile program and to disable it, to go after the Iranian Navy, and to, the President used the word annihilate it, but definitely to damage it as well. And then, of course, neither he nor Secretary Hegseth specifically mentioned targeting Iran's nuclear program, but ultimately they mentioned the goal is to ensure that Iran does not have the ability to produce a nuclear weapon. But another big target and another big point of the conversation in that briefing today was exactly how long this conflict is going to last. President Trump, of course, just repeating at that event we were just watching him walk out of earlier today that, in fact, there is a projected timeline that existed by the military of 4 to 5 weeks to get through the military objectives of this. We asked Secretary Hegseth about that today, and specifically about whether this is an open-ended conflict or not. And here's a little bit about what he had to say.
We're not going to go into the exercise of what we will or will not do. President Trump ensures that our enemies understand we'll go as far as we need to go to advance American interests. But we're not dumb about it. You don't have to roll 200,000 people in there and stay for 20 years.
So seemingly a reference to the U.S. military being involved in the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan for 2 decades. But it's interesting, he did not specifically rule out the possibility of U.S. boots on the ground, instead saying he was not going to tie the hands of the president and that he would not even acknowledge whether, in fact, that was on the table or not, Hallie.
And can I ask you, Courtney, because we also heard from the president this morning in a separate interview with a different outlet that the suggestion that what he called the big wave has not even happened yet. So help us understand that, because there were something like 1,000 targets hit over the course of the last 48 hours in this, first phase of this operation, Courtney. Bigger than that, presumably? Is that what the president's referencing? Do we know?
It does seem that way, and we did hear today that the U.S. is still flowing additional forces in. General Kane saying that they're still flowing more forces in even today. Now, keep in mind, that could be things like the B-2 bomber flights that we heard about yesterday. Those move from the United States. It's like a 37-hour transit to fly from the U.S. all the way into Iran to drop these massive ordnance and then to fly all the way back. So assets like that are definitely flowing in. But when you talk about these 1,000 targets that the U.S. first went after in massive military campaign, they are going to need additional forces, additional aircraft, and more than anything else, additional ordnance brought into the region if they're going to sustain this for a matter of time. And again, without a real sense of how many total targets we're looking at here or of a timeline, it stands to reason that the U.S. is still going to have another wave or additional waves of this. I am really struck, though, by one thing, Hallie, is the U.S. At the Pentagon briefing today, they were talking about all these conventional targets. So again, the missile program, missile defense systems, the Iranian Navy. They did not talk specifically about targeting the Iranian nuclear program, and I'm curious if that might be part of what President Trump is talking about here, is if they will get through sort of the conventional targets and then they might move to the nuclear as sort of the end state or one of the end games of this entire military campaign.
Courtney Kube, thank you. I want to bring in our senior White House correspondent, Garrett Haake, who is in the East Room, I'm sure getting ready to be shuffled out. Garrett, give us a sense of what it was like in the room there. The president making those remarks off the top about Iran, as we've noted from Courtney, his top defense and military officials in the room as well.
Yeah, that's right, Hallie. I mean, it's a sort of a fitting scene to give those remarks, given that we're here for Medal of Honors to be awarded to 3 veterans whose extraordinary gallantry kind of undergirded this whole event. It's in that context that, of course, the United States military finds itself engaged again in Iran. So you heard the president offer what I think is probably his most complete explanation of why the U.S. acted when it did, suggesting that Iran's missile program could already hit Europe, could already hit U.S. bases, and suggesting that he's concerned about the idea that it could hit more Americans in the future. I'm left still wondering, you know, what that timeline was and why the movement towards strikes now was so immediate. Hallie, I think, you know, I also tried to ask the president as he was leaving here today whether or not he's ready to order American ground troops in if it's necessary. Secretary Hegseth alluded to that possibility this morning. The president, in one of his phone interviews, suggested it's not something he's prepared to rule out. It also wasn't something he was prepared to talk about with me. Sorry, I was looking over my shoulder to see if the secretary was close enough for me to try to throw him a question on his way out the room. You know I'm going to try, Hallie, but no additional questions from the defense secretary today. Look, I mean, this is an audience probably more than any other single room you could find in the country, Hallie, that understands the costs of war. And I think you heard that sort of reflected in the solemnity of the president's remarks here today, at least until he got to the point where he started talking about the ballroom construction, which was audible behind him.
Garrett Haake, live for us there in the East Room. I'll let you get out of there, Garrett. I know you got to get to the North Lawn, I'm sure. Thank you, friend. Appreciate that. Let me take you now to the region. Our chief foreign correspondent, Richard Engel, is in Tel Aviv for us. So, Richard, all of this, right, belies this leadership question, this leadership, you could call it, void in Iran right now. What happens moving forward? The president has called on Iranians. You know, the administration wants them to essentially rise up. That is complicated for a variety of reasons, especially as the president is threatening continued military action that could be very intense in and around Tehran and the rest of the country.
It's also unclear how he expects them to do this, to rise up. And is that really the U.S. strategy, to destroy Iran, to destroy Iran's military capabilities, to destroy its navies, to weaken the government so much that a popular street revolution can take over? Is that really the objective of this war, to weaken the country so much that almost anyone who is able to get out onto the streets and take over government buildings becomes the next leader of Iran? That seems like a very unclear path forward when it comes to the future vision of Iran. But also what we heard the president today talk about was the military objectives. We've talked about that quite extensively. You talked about that with Courtney Kube. He also talked about the justification for the war, why he decided to launch this war with Israel now, what was the imminent threat. And one of the reasons that he mentioned was that negotiations were failing, that the Iranians walked away, that they didn't want to negotiate. That is not what the Omanis, who were the main mediators in these talks, the Omani foreign minister, said that they were making progress and that an opportunity was missed when this war was launched. And I just spoke a short while ago to another Arab negotiator, and he said that the Iranians didn't walk away from the talks, that they were making progress, that they were supposed to have follow-up negotiations, follow-up technical meetings when this war began. So there are real questions about the future objectives, who's going to take over in Iran if, in fact, there is some sort of regime collapse, and why the war itself was launched when it was launched.
And how about, Richard, as we've gotten the reporting, of course, on the intelligence assessments about the Saturday morning timing of all this, give us a sense. You're in Tel Aviv. I know you've traveled. I think you're in Jerusalem. I know you were nearby at a town that was hit extremely hard, a city that was attacked that's not far from Jerusalem, where multiple people were killed. Give us a sense of what you've seen on the ground and what you've heard from Israeli officials on this front as that part moves forward as well.
So Israeli officials are speaking out and talking about the importance of this military campaign, how Iran must be destroyed, how the Iranian regime must be brought to its knees so that it can no longer threaten Israel. I was at the town of Beit Shemesh, which is outside of Jerusalem. Yes, I am in Tel Aviv now. And while I was there, Prime Minister Netanyahu came to inspect the damage, and he spoke to reporters who were on location. I threw a question to him. He did not answer it. I asked him, how does he see this war ending? He didn't answer that, but he did speak to some reporters in both Hebrew and English, and he said that the goal is to teach Iran a lesson, to destroy the regime, to destroy an evil regime that he said attacks civilians. He focused on the fact that Israel and the United States are targeting military sites in Iran, while Iran is attacking civilian locations here and across the region. Generally, in Israel, the mood seems to be in favor of this conflict. I've spoken to Israelis here in Tel Aviv and other parts of the country, including at places where there have just been Iranian missile strikes. And so far, I've heard nothing but unilateral support that the U.S. and Israel must go forward, must continue this campaign. A lot of support for President Trump, who seems to be more popular here, or at least as popular here as Israel's prime minister.
Richard Engel, our chief foreign correspondent, live for us there in Tel Aviv. Richard, we're so glad to have you, your reporting, your analysis, as always. Our thanks to Courtney Kube, to Garrett Haake, to Monica Alba as well. That's going to do it for our special coverage now of the president's remarks from the East Room on the war on Iran, as well as that Medal of Honor ceremony. A lot more ahead on NBC News Now, online at NBCnews.com.
We thank you for watching. And remember,
I'm tapping in, I'm tapping in, I'm tapping in, man. Listen, man. Like I say, Trump is off the chain, y'all. Trump is off the chain, man. He doing whatever. He at war. We at war right now. Don't think because it's just over Iran that it's not going to come over here. We at war, y'all. We at war. So stay ready so you ain't got to get ready. I ain't lying, y'all. We're going to have to stay ready at all times messing with Trump because what he's doing a whole lot. That man doing a whole lot right now, but what can we do but deal with the circumstances, man? Love your family, man. And thank y'all for tapping into Your Cuz Podcast. I'm gone.